Hello, and today what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at web pages. And not only are we going to be looking at web pages, but we're also going to be looking about how we discuss them and how we talk about them and all the different things that you'll often see in web pages. Now, when you actually look at web pages, they're often used as an unseen text in an exam. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through everything that you'll see in a web page and go through all the steps that you may need to look at when you're actually answering a question about a web page in an unseen exam. So what I mean by unseen, first of all, is it's an exam where you go in, you sit down, and then you get a page which is usually either some sort of text or an image, and then you discuss it and analyze it. So what we're going to do is look at a couple of examples of some things that you'll be looking at in web pages, and also going through the kinds of things that you'll be looking at when you're trying to answer a question on one. So first, let's look at just the structure of one. So a web page uses a combination, shall I say, of text, images, and layout, and tone in order to communicate with their visitors. So a website is basically, it's a form of communication. So what I mean by that is when you go to a website, it is in some way communicating with you, whether that purpose is to do something like to sell you something, if it's a commercial website, if it's to entertain, if it's just one you go on to relax, if it's to communicate with others, such as social media sites. Each of them have a purpose of communication. And so what you'll be looking at is you'll be looking at how a website will communicate with someone. And if you can do that, then, and you can look at the audience and you can look at the kinds of people who it's communicating with, you're on your way to being able to discuss it and also be able to get a good mark for that particular section of the exam. Now, web pages are also quite unique because they use links to send people in different directions. So unlike a print advertisement where it might tell you to do something, a web page actually has a more direct link to get you to navigate around the site. And part of what you'll be actually looking at as well is the kinds of links that are there and the sorts of things that a website is trying to get its users to do, because not all websites obviously are the same. And even all the ones that are purpose of the market will do so in different ways. So basically, a combination of all these things is what forms the structure of your web page. And you'll need to discuss these as basically small pieces which all together will form a part of your answer. So think of each image, each bit of text, each part of the layout to be a separate part which will actually really help you to answer the question. So the more you look at it, and the closer you look at it, the more ideas and more examples you'll be able to use in your answer. So let's just have a look at how websites actually communicate, because this is it's a tricky thing to do, because normally you just go on websites not to look at communication. Okay, so they communicate whether you visit them, as I mentioned before, for pleasure, or if you visit them for business, or whatever it is that you visit a website for. They are designed basically in a way which is to deliver content to you. So a web page is designed very specifically. They don't just throw random things on a page and say that's a web page and here you go, everyone go on it. What they do is they'll design it in such a way which it will get people to navigate the places where they want them to go. So if it's a site which is an online store, it's going to immediately take them to the place where they can buy things, rather than so much having a look around and browsing, because they don't want people to go on their site to browse. They want them to go on their site to buy. And so they'll point out immediately something like the specials of the week or something else like that. So something that stands out. Something that is being arranged in such a way where the biggest things are the places where they want you immediately to go, like when you look at a normal sort of image. And through a mixture of this design and through this content that you get as well, so that mixture of the way that they arrange things and the content that's actually there, so you actually can talk about the things that are on the website. You don't have to just look at techniques purely. You can actually have a look at the way that everything has all been put together and talk about the sorts of ideas and sorts of things they're trying to get you to do. So a combination of all those things will get communication. So it's another step up. All right. So let's have a look at techniques. Now, techniques is basically how you'll help to give evidence about how a website communicates. All right, so the terms you use will be very, very specific to saying, okay, this is what a website's actually doing, and this is how it's communicating with someone. So the more specific and the more detailed you can be, obviously, the better your answer is going to be. All right, so having a look at the techniques that the website uses, you can actually help to provide some more depth to your answer. And particularly using those sort of technique terms will really help you to actually, first of all, be very specific. And marketers don't usually like people to say, oh, well, it sort of does this. All right, they want you to refer specifically to it. And if you can't be specific, if they don't know what part of the website you're talking about when you're explaining this big, long piece of discussion, then what they'll do is they'll get lost. They won't be able to find what it is you're trying to say, and you'll ultimately lose marks for it. So by being more specific, you can actually help your answer. So for instance, to say bold, sharp text is much better than saying really big words. So immediately we're looking specifically at the text is bold and sharp. It stands out rather than, oh, that's just big words. Well, what do big words mean? Do they mean big words as in they're long? Are they big words as in they're big? Are they big words as in they're something which is a very outrageous sort of statement? It could mean anything. So if you actually use a specific term like bold, sharp text, it's going to really help your discussion a lot more. Okay, so let's have a look at tone to start with. And this is one of the main techniques, one of the main four. All right, tone is basically the way that the words and the images suit the audience of the web page. So have a look at the example on my right, then you'll see it's a technical website. It's for tech products. And what the tone is it's very sort of technical, where it immediately goes through the kinds of devices on the website. So that big banner in the middle there. Even the color scheme of the website is very grey, it's very business-like. So it's immediately associating with all those things that you get from technology, that sort of simple, ergonomic, efficient, all those sorts of things being part of the website. And obviously it's trying to sell, because the way that the site is immediately talking to you is it's going straight towards buying online and the sorts of specials you can get. Basically, an example of this would be a government department website, and you may come across a lot of these in unseen text, where a government department website will use a bit more of an authoritative tone. So this basically means there's not going to be any piano playing cat, should I say, in the banner of your website, or in the banner of a government website, should I say. And the reason for that is it's government. The government are trying to represent an image that they are authoritative, that they are saying something which is going to benefit you. They're not trying to entertain. That's not what the purpose of the site is. So having a look at the tone of a government website is purely instructional, informational, all those things. So with that information, you can actually talk about the way that these techniques have been arranged to appear more authoritative. If you're looking at a government website, if you're looking at this one, then it's how the tone is directed purely at selling something. Now the layout. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the layout of this is pointing you directly towards what it wants you to do. In this case, it wants you to look at the specials, it wants you to buy online, and it wants to take you straight to social media. So it's one of those links. All right, so it's the way that all of it's been arranged. So you've got all these banners, you've got all these different sections which point you to different ways, different parts of the website. And basically, it's the way that everything has been organized. So the size of things. So some things there on that website are bigger than others. It's not all text. There are images around as well. That there are things which are important, which stand out more. As I said, all those aspects of social media and buying online and the specials, which is immediately what that particular website wants you to do, is to have a look at the specials, see if you see something you really like that's on special, to go to the online store and buy stuff, and to go on social media and tell all your friends about it. So those three key things in the layout are things that immediately the website's trying to get you to do. Visuals also are a part of this. And when you have a look at the visuals, have a look at the way that not only are they laid out, but the kinds of images they choose to use. So icons, such as obviously the social media sites where they're trying to get you to go. The artwork, the company logos, the product logos. If you're looking at a site which might be something about a family or towards a social cause, they may show images of people who they're targeting, or images of people who they're trying to help. depending on what sorts of things that are there, it's basically, images are used as a way to help support what the whole idea of the website is. And obviously, if it's an entertainment website, then they're going to have images there that are going to be part of the entertainment experience that you get when you go on that particular website. So even if you're going on a website for an online game, the images and the visuals that are there are obviously going to be there as part of the game and as part of the experience you get when you go on that website. So all of those things together equal basically the experience. Now obviously this is something that will link with your content and your tone of the page. So as I mentioned before, if it's something for a particular cause, then it's going to match the sorts of things that they're talking about on the site. And having a look at other things as well, you actually get a whole range of techniques that will basically, based on the images that are there, will give you more of an argument to say what this website's trying to do. So for instance, an anti-smoking website may use images of diseased body parts, and that's because of the message that it's trying to reinforce the anti-smoking message. So not only is the content and tone there, the images are actually enhancing that message. They're building upon it to really hammer home that people should stop smoking. All right, let's have a look at text as well, because this is another particular important thing. Not only what is written, but the font and the styling of it. So if you have a look at this one, it's very sleek and professional. It's not in Comic Sans font. It's not something that's having fun with its audience. It's just purely directing them to where they're going. It's professionally styled. So through those sorts of things, it can make an immediate impression about someone when they have a look at the website. So if you've got a font in a really hard to read style or something else like that, or if it's in a, as I said, a Comic Sans style font, then immediately it's not sending a message that it's very professional. Whereas this one, and most other websites that you'll see which are for business or for marketing purposes, will be set out in such a way that not only is what is written quite authoritative and professional, but also the fonts that they choose to write, the typography of it basically. And you can also refer to things like direct quotes, just like you would when you're referring to a book. So if you've got a website where you've got a particular message, then you can use a direct quote. However, the font and styling is more of a visual sort of aid, and you can use that just as easily. So you can have a look at that sort of thing, plus an idea of font and styling. So what is written and the type of text that's written in, to sort of set up a particular idea in that particular web page, and combine that with all the other things, you're starting to have a much deeper and much broader argument developing. So the final bit we're going to look at is links. And basically links are tabs or icons which direct a visitor to another part of the website. So usually where they want them to go. So like that model there on my right, you've got one home page, and then you've got all these different areas where they're trying to get you to go, and sub areas, and you could go a chain that's 10 miles long. Now what those links are trying to do is trying to point you to exactly where you want to go on that website. And obviously they want the links to be useful to you because they want you to keep going back to the website again. So if it's a website particularly for a shopping purpose or for a retail purpose, they want you to keep going back to the site so you can keep buying things from that site. If it's something that's hard to use and you can't get where you want to go, then obviously people are going to take their business elsewhere. So having a look at those sorts of things on a web page, the links are actually quite an important part of it, and you'll usually see some sort of link just by the way that either a text is just underlined with a normal kind of hyperlink, or the sorts of things where it might say click here. And those sorts of things combined, as I said, with ideas such as text and content and visuals as well, will give you an overall sense of what it is a web page is trying to do, where they're getting you to go, why they want you visiting that site. And even if that purpose, as I said before, is purely for entertainment, then what they're trying to get you to do is come back to their website to be entertained time and time again, because that means that they can sell space to advertisers, and obviously it means their website can be successful. So it's often important to look where the websites are, to as I said, describe what the purpose of it is. So through all these techniques, it helps a person not only navigate the site, but it also reinforces the message that the website's trying to do. And having a look at content and purpose, you'll actually be able to understand what, through these techniques, the content and the purpose of the website is. But otherwise, that's about all we have for techniques and structure of a web page. So if you have any questions or difficulties, make sure you have a look at the slide again, or of course ask a teacher or someone that you know who can help you with this sort of thing, and basically have a look and see what sorts of things that you can find in web pages at home and the sorts of things that they are trying to direct you towards, because generally if you have a look at websites you can pick up maybe even a couple of very basic techniques. Now, I'm not saying that you go on websites to purely study. What I'm saying is that you can pick up what they're trying to get you to do, and through that you can work backwards into what the idea of a web page actually is. But until next time, I will see you later.